right? To ensure that remembrance is paired with repair, justice, and community healing. So we start the life, labor, and land acknowledgement with a deep breath. We're going to inhale through the nose to the count of 3, followed by an exhale, also to the count of 3. Deep inhale. 1, 2, 3, and exhale. 3, 2, 1. This land on which we inhabit is physically situated in the original ancestral homelands of the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi people. We pay respect to all Indigenous people, past, present, and future, and their continuing presence in the homeland and throughout their historical diaspora. Deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, and exhale. 3, 2, 1. We pay homage to those who were stolen from Africa, placed in bondage, falsely named as chattel, and forced into labor, who were called slaves, but never submitted as such, who have been fully human, with an unbroken connection to the divine and to each other. We honor our African ancestors for the still unpaid labor, which built what is now the Americas. Last breath, deep inhale. 1, 2, 3, and exhale. 3, 2, 1. And with that, I can pass to Kat to explain what a Lansing People's Assembly is, followed by an explanation of our touchstones.
Thank you, Donnie. Yes, so what the People's Assembly is, that is the space that we are currently in. It is a multiracial, multi-generational, multi-ideological, multi-gendered space. It brings all voices together in a circular fashion and engages the thinking, experiences, and visions of all participants in order to synthesize and collectively agree on action steps. So the space of listening, learning, and action. And that will kind of lead us into our touchstones, which is a collective agreement that this is how we will abide in this space. So I will invite anyone to come off mute to name one touchstone until we've reached all the way to all of them being completed. So you can just come off mute. You don't need to raise your hand or anything, and just name a touchstone. So I'll get us started. I'll go with be 100% extending and presuming welcome.
Extend kindness.
Listen deeply.
Sharing is always by invitation.
No fixing.
When things get difficult, turn to wonder.
Suspend judgment.
Respect silence.
Maintain.
Identify
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Identify assumptions.
Maintain confidentiality.
Speak your truth.
I believe that's all of them. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Pugh.
Welcome, Dr. Pugh. I am so grateful that you are with us today as our State Board of Education president for quite some time now. We're grateful that you are joining us for another round of conversations. This is the second series that we've done. diving deeper into education, and this could not be more timely. We have lots of changes at the federal level. We now have a new state budget, and just grateful that you can be here with us, and look forward to hearing your perspective on what is at stake in public education. What does that
And
look like?
Yes, thank you for your patience. I did exactly what my cousin told me not to do. I'm at his house. I was here in Lansing for an event and using his technology, and it is new to me. And I told him, I know what I'm doing, but I don't. So thank you all for organizing this, and please give me a moment as I am using his technology and trying to pull everything together. So I may be looking a little bit away from the screen for a moment, but what I want to do is just really walk us through where we are, and then also talk about some of the budget updates that we're still combing through. As many of you all know, and many of you all were advocating for, is for our legislature to do its job. And we know, as it relates to schools, we were supposed to have a school budget back in July. Thank God we're finally seeing a school budget, and it's one that it wasn't as bad as what we thought it was. We'll talk about what are some pieces that we saw in there that we're happy about and where are areas for improvement. Just give me a moment to pull some things up. I am so sorry. So as it relates to the budget, the governor, just as many of you know, signed the fiscal year 2026 budget that began on October 1st, which was Tuesday. And the legislature, we know, approved the budget late Thursday. Actually, it was like 4:30 in the morning on Friday morning. And the budget was approved 3 months past the deadline. And we know that we will continue, all of us together, continue to make sure that that doesn't happen and become the norm that's not prioritizing our children. Just some notable positives. We did see the continuation of the free school lunches and breakfasts, and we had to push for that, fight for that, and we're grateful to the governor, to our state superintendent of public instruction for pushing for that. We also saw opportunities for more students to enroll in career technical education programs that prepare them for high wage, high skills careers. Improve school funding around fairness. So we saw that the House budget was calling for all the categoricals to be put in a lump sum that would have gone against everything that most of us stand for on this call, that all of us, I would say all of us stand for on this call, which is acknowledging that all students have different needs, but we were able to make sure that we push for fairness. 25% increases in support of at-risk students and bilingual students, 5.7% increase for Section 51E for students with disabilities. And that is a category that has increased more than fourfold in the last few years. $64.4 million for research-based, high-quality early literacy materials. As many of you know, we passed the Literacy and Dyslexia Bills, Public Act 146 in 2024. We're still waiting. Those bills will fully be implemented in this upcoming year, but this allows us to continue that work. $65 million that will provide lower class sizes in high poverty K through 3 classrooms, and that's in 4 districts. Unfortunately, Lansing is not one of the pilot districts, but we are hoping that the positive effects of the lower class sizes in the 4 pilot districts will ultimately result in this moving into Lansing schools and schools throughout the state. The budget eliminates virtual days as a substitute for in-person instructional days. Dr. Michael Rice, who is now our past as of Friday, he's now our past State superintendent was really pushing for 180 instructional day, and us meeting that requirement. We can talk more about how that requirement's not quite being met, but by addressing this virtual school days, and eliminating those virtual school days, that gets us closer to the 180 instructional day requirements. The budget doesn't fund all of the state's initiatives to address teacher shortages. These are the areas that we've advocated for as a state board, as the Department of Education. And so it does fall short in addressing teacher shortage. The budget ends funding for student loan repayment program for teacher and provides inadequate funding for many grow your own participants with interest in a career in teaching. We have made great strides and gains there. So this is a walk back from those gains. Funding for student mental health and school safety should be recurring. We've been pushing for this to be recurring in the budget and not funded on a year-by-year basis as it is in this budget. While the Department of Ed, we appreciate the funding for the 5th consecutive year for letters training, that's the science of reading and professional development there. We want to see that being made mandatory, and the legislature once again failed to require that training. Many of you have heard about autism funding reduction, and MDE is concerned about how those cuts related to health services such as autism navigators will be affected. And so we will hear more about this. So the Autism Alliance actually runs that program. And this is not a Michigan Department of Health. This is a Michigan Department of Health and Human Services budget item and not MDE budget item. So we'll continue to monitor that closely. The recent state budget does change items related to autisms, but does not impact the work of MDE does. There's also some concerns and questions around retirement funding or MIPSERS funding, and it includes some changes there. And so we will continue to monitor those changes. The other piece that I want to talk about is some of our just some of the state of where we are in public education. Some of the pieces, we know despite there are headwinds, and despite those headwinds, there has been some progress in education. We have 4-year graduation rate that rose 82.8 to 82.8% for the class of 2024, which is the highest since the state adopted the federal formula. Career technical education is surging at a record 55,431 program completers last year. Advanced placement, I have some new numbers. I'm going to read the old numbers, and then I'll hopefully be able to pull up the new numbers. But again, having technology issues. But advanced placement participation last year grew to 12.3% in 2 years. It's higher now. And that was plus 28% for Black students, plus 26% for Latino students, and plus 35% for our economically disadvantaged students. International Baccalaureate or IB access continues to expand across the state, and we're strengthening, as we mentioned, our mental health and safe school supports. Even though we did not get the recurring dollars, it should be noted that we went from $0 in 2018 to a quarter upward of $1/3 of $1 billion. And again, we're just trying to make sure that those dollars are recurring and not having to fight for them each year. So we still, as you all know, have a long way to go. When it comes to budget, we've seen record or historic budgets, but I'm sure our superintendent will talk to us more about the fact that we were digging out of a hole. So we still have a long way to go. And we have to make sure that those who have pushed for increase in um, privately for-profit charters, that those who are pushing for vouchers are not able to continue to push to defund our public education. And that's been a push from the federal level as well as some on the state level. So we can talk a little bit more about that, but some of the initiatives and advocacy that we're doing at the state board is greater transparency when it comes to the billions of dollars that go to public charters, that we can't account for those dollars. We don't know if they're making it to the classroom or not. We also are pushing for, as mentioned, the lower class sizes, and we want to see that expand quickly beyond the four pilot districts. So I am going to pause there. And Angela, I'm not sure I think we're going to take questions after we hear from the superintendent.
You actually have a little time, yes. So if anyone has questions, this would be great. And what I would love is that after the questions, we'll hear from Ben and then have a space for you all to have some conversation with one another. Ben, if you have questions of Pam, and Pam, if you have questions of Ben, that would be great.
Absolutely. I'm going to try and pull up these new numbers that I got literally off the press too, for some of our good news. But yes, I'm
If you
open
have
to
a
any
question,
questions.
please hop in. Yeah, I would say go ahead and just take yourself off mute and dive right in.
So I had a question. If you hear my grandbabies, I apologize. The mental health funding that you said was recurring prior to this budget was zero in 2018. What was it prior to then? Was it a thing or wasn't a thing?
It's zero. Yeah, zero. Yes. So many of us have long known the need of helps professionals in our schools. So mental health professionals, counselors. You've probably heard the ratios, and Ben probably can speak to this, the ratio of student to counselor ratio being one of the highest, or counselor to student ratio being one of the highest, so the poorest in the country. And so we were able to increase our helps professional in the state by 1,700, almost 2,000. And a lot of those dollars came with COVID relief dollars. But we were able to hold on to some of those dollars. They were removed. And you might remember that there was a supplemental budget after we advocated very strongly for those dollars to be put back in, that they were put in, and we've seen them come back again. But yes, we did not have them. We did not have mental health professionals in schools. We did not have school nurses in many of our schools, and we did not have the appropriate counselor to student ratio. And that's putting that lightly, but we've seen the increase. What we were also seeing were efforts to increase the pipeline and the pool of professionals, because of course, without the resources, we were also seeing the profession not having, well, the professions dying off, for lack of a better word, but not having the professionals to step up and take on those roles, even when we had the resources. We've been seeing increases in Michigan with educators overall. We've really, at the Department of Education, State Board of Education, have pushed for our educators to be proportional to the diversity, in diversity as we see in our student body as well. So meaning that we've pushed for educators to look like the student, reflect the student body. And we were unpacking the budget now and hoping that we continue to see that move forward versus backwards, given some of the cuts in budget for our teacher retention and attraction dollars in this new budget.
So you said school lunches will continue. Is that across the board?
That should be across the board, yes.
Thank you.
Across, yes. So universal throughout, so districts don't have to pick and choose which ones can do it and which ones don't.
Understood. Thank you.
Jakia, I see your hand raised. Please hop in.
Hi, Miss Pugh. I just wanted to follow up on a couple of the things that you said, and thank you, Donnie, for pointing out the mental health funding piece. Is it mental health and safety funding? Are those lumped together? Is that kind of one basket?
I believe it is, and Ben might be able to answer. Yes, I'm pretty sure that is. And I do know that in my quick perusal, I also saw SROs being made available in that as well. So I am so sorry. Of course, we would have wanted to have our budget approved long ago. So we're just delving into it, and I got some of my talking points even as we were speaking. So I'll try to look through them if Ben doesn't have the answers. But yes, I'm sorry, long answer, but I do believe that they are together. They are together.
Okay. And then for the pilot programming for the smaller class size, I am very interested in the robust conversations that probably occurred around trying to push that decision forward.
Yes.
And if there are any talking points or supporting avenues for support that community and parents and organizing individuals can kind of help in that area, because that, I mean, yeah,
Yes,
super
yes,
important.
and we're going to need it. Again, I'm so happy to see this. I will say quickly is that I was asked to go before the House Oversight Committee a few months ago, and one of the points that one of the GOP members brought up was that having 50 kids in a classroom were the good old days that they wanted to go back to. So we will need advocacy for that. Like I said, I'm happy to see that it was even in the budget, but we definitely want to make sure we have the advocacy to ensure that it spreads to other districts. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Donnie and Jakia, for those questions. And I am going to reset the timer. And Ben, so same question for you. What's at stake for education now that the state budget is passed, and also your perspective on the changes at the federal level? What does
Sure.
it look like for your district?